Flipping Death is a side-scrolling adventure puzzler developed by Zoink Games, which will see you dimension hopping between the land of the living and the dead in order to solve a series of comedic puzzles.
In the quiet town of Flatwood Peaks, you play as Penny, a wisecracking teenager who, after an unfortunate accident, finds her spirit stuck in the land of the dead, where restless souls go before they pass on to the afterlife.
Hey, welcome to the party!
But when Death himself mistakes her for an intern, Penny is forced to don his robes and scythe and take over his duties, while also trying to work out who or what has taken control of her body in the real world.
But that's my body, dang it!
Who knew being dead involves so much work?
I know, right? But don't worry, because there's lots of spoopy spirit fun to be had. Penny can switch between the two worlds by taking control of living beings on the other side and using their bodies to move about. I really like the walking animation once you take control, all wobbly and shaky. It's like someone who's read about walking but has never actually tried it before.
You can also get into people's heads and see what they're thinking, which can lead to some pretty funny interactions.
What are the secret government flavors?
Yeah, right! Like I'd tell a voice in my head that. Nice try, telepathic ice cream cone.
It's also really funny to me that no one seems surprised by what is happening. Sure, they might be a bit shocked at first, but then their body is moving about on its own and they're all like, oh well, typical Tuesday.
Oh, hold on!
It's quite silly, but that's the fun of it. We wouldn't want to think we were actually hurting them after all. When you're not inhabiting someone, you'll be moving around the land of the dead, helping your fellow spirits complete their unfinished business. This can range from reuniting a chainsaw-loving mermaid with her long-lost love to solving the mystery of an elderly lady's untimely demise.
I remember getting married and then, bam, Corpse City.
The main story is broken up into self-contained chapters and the quests are often linked. This means that to solve the first one on your list, you may need to solve others for the solution to become clear. And they can be quite tricky.
Hello, hello! Pip, as always, you are correct. But there's so much fun to be had as you watch the pieces fall into place, solving one problem with another. For instance, in order to get a woman out of her coma, you have to get her to her motorcycle. But to do that, you need to get her out of the hospital, which you can't do unless you break the window to her room. To do that, you have to replace the weak arm of a tennis player with a stronger one, so that he's strong enough to hit a bowling ball, and then...
Alright, okay, Darren, I think we get the idea. And it is pretty ridiculous.
But it does encourage creative thinking. The answer might not always be obvious, but this kind of interconnected problem solving is just the kind of thing that gets my CPU all fired up.
You might want to get that looked at, Darren.
Please, not in front of Pip, Gem.
Okay, I can understand wanting a challenge, but some of the solutions are really left field, which can make them really funny, but also very frustrating to try and figure out. I'll admit I even had to look up a guide a few times because I was stuck.
Hey, there's no shame in asking for help. You know, I got stuck a bunch as well. There is a hint section with picture clues of what to do, which can be helpful if you're already on the right path and just aren't sure of how to put the pieces together. Often though, I just end up stumbling my way through quests, trying to trigger an event, but that's not nearly as satisfying as working it out for yourself.
There is a lot of aimless wandering for sure, especially at the beginning of each chapter when both world maps add new areas to explore, and with it, enemies to avoid and more people to control. Thankfully though, because Penny can't be physically hurt, outside of losing some of the souls you collect, you're free to explore with little fear of consequences. Which is fantastic, because you'll want to explore every nook and cranny Flipping Death has to offer.
How good are the environments? I mean, they're so quirky. From the chipper, happy-go-lucky, sun-dabbled streets of Flatwood Peaks to the haunting, shadow-infested underbelly that is the land of the dead, everything has this really unique cartoony look to it.
And that 2.5D style really brings in an element of otherworldly strangeness too. Although the characters do a pretty good job of embodying strangeness. What? Huh? They are terrifying.
Yeah, no kidding. Also the way that the tops of their heads just sort of float above their lower jaws. I mean, ugh, creepy. Combined with the way they move, all twitchy and jagged, even without Penny controlling them, it can lead to some pretty weird imagery.
Out of the way, everyone! I'm on official spiritual business.
All right, let's wrap this up. Final thoughts?
Overall, I think Flipping Death is a really funny, creative, and enjoyable experience. Its comedic writing and storytelling kept me invested even when the puzzles sometimes made me want to quit. I think it could do with some polish, but ultimately I had a good time. I'm giving it 4 out of 5 rubber chickens.
All right, despite its odd visuals, I really dug how much personality they crammed into every character I met. However, I did feel like I needed a bit more direction in the puzzle department. So it's a 3.5 from me.
It's time to walk around and chew bubble gum, and I got plenty of bubble gum.